The first thing you taste is the copper-sharp, metallic, unmistakably wrong curling up the back of your tongue like a poisonous serpent. Then comes the burning in your throat. It feels as if a blacksmith has rammed a red-hot poker straight down your gullet, branding every inch of flesh between your teeth and your stomach. You grab the rim of the marble basin, knuckles whitening against the veined stone, and retch. Nothing happens. The potion is in you now, heavy and defiant, refusing to come back up. Somewhere outside the curtained doorway, drums from the Circus Maximus boom like distant thunder roam, cheering yet another execution while, inside, you count the heartbeats that will carry you to oblivion. Except they keep coming, steady and strong, mocking your resolve. You are Lucius Servilius Regulus, legate of the 14th Legion, conqueror of Gaul, butcher of rebellious Britanschero to the mob, threat to the Senate, a newly branded traitor by Emperor Nero's paranoid whisper network. Yesterday, a courier brought the purple-sealed indictment: treason, embezzlement, conspiracy. Today, your name will be read aloud in the forum, and tomorrow your head will roll on the steps of the Curia, unless you die first. Romans believe a man who takes his own life denies the state its spectacle. His property is confiscated, yes, but his lineage escapes the stain of public strangulation. Poison seemed the cleanest exit swift, private, almost dignified. Almost. The vial had arrived before dawn. A thumb-sized ampulla of pale green liquid said to be quick as lightning, silent as the grave. But the slave who supplied it was cheap, the concoction unvetted, and your trust desperate. Now you stand in your private baths, naked save for sweat, waiting for the gods to claim you. Instead of darkness, light slants through the lattice, illuminating motes of dust and a single housefly that lands on your lip as if to taunt you. Even I outlive generals. A sour burp hiccups from your gut. You swallow it, praying for numbness, but the acid answers with a fiery crawl up your esophagus. Still you live. Panic elbows its way through your ribcage. What if the poison is too weak? What if it was meant for a slimmer man? A senator's waifish nephew rather than a soldier who once marched 40 miles on barley and blood. Outside, hoofbeats clatter along the Vicus Patricius probably Praetorian scouts, confirming you haven't fled. A bead of sweat slides down your spine. Slavery, confiscation, disgrace. You imagine Nero's smirk as he parades your broken body through the streets, the same streets you once cleared of rioters. Your father's ghost seems to whisper, "Better a sword through the gut than a rope around the neck, boy." But the only blades at hand are ceremonial bronze, dulled by years of empty honor guards. Curiosity scratches at you. How long does cheap hemlock take? You stagger to the cedar chest, knees buckling, and pull out a scroll Soranus of Ephesus on toxicology. Your vision wobbles as you scan the faded ink. For an adult male of average constitution, a draft of 3 drams suffices to still the heartbeat within an hour. You drank 2, you missed. A wave of embarrassment crashes hotter than the poison itself. The conqueror of Gaul can't even kill himself right. Your mind races for contingencies. Double the dose? Another vial is nowhere to be found. Raise a dagger to your throat? But the tremor in your hands turns steel into a reed. Footsteps slap the mosaic outside your bodyguard Marcus, loyal as a mastiff. Dominus, the palace messenger, approaches, he calls, voice laced with dread. You picture the parchment in those imperial hands, stamped with Nero's scowling profile, condemning you to public annihilation. Your stomach twists, not from poison, but raw fear. You answer through clenched teeth, "Tell him I prepare my defense." The lie tastes worse than copper. Marcus's sandals retreat, yet every echo reminds you the empire is closing in. Sweat floods your brow. The bath's humid air smells of lavender oil, but beneath it coils the stench of bile and unwashed terror. You pace, each step splashing the shallow pool underfoot. Your reflection wavers, broad shoulders slumped, gray-flecked beard matted against your chest, eyes that once glared down whole tribes now darting like a cornered boar's. Is this how legends end? With nervous sweat and half-digested hemlock? A fresh ripple of nausea, or just finally? You lunge at the basin again, retch until tears sting your eyes, but only a thin thread of saliva drips out, stretching, snapping. The potion refuses release. In the suffocating silence afterward, a single question roars. What if you fight back? You could gather your veterans, march on Nero, topple the golden statuist traitor becomes liberator in one bold night. Your pulse thunders at the thought. Yet another twist slices through. Or what if this failed poison has already begun rotting organs you cannot see? Maybe in an hour you'll collapse mid-speech, foaming like a rabid dog before your own men. The uncertainty chews at you worse than any charge of treason. A chilled breeze snakes through the doorway, raising goose flesh across your arms. You shiver, tasting iron where you've bitten your lip. Remember Britannia, the winter siege at Camulodunum, when freezing rain battered the camp for 6 straight days and night. You led singing to keep spirits alive. Now you can barely hum a funeral dirge for yourself. Another childish burp bubbles up. Was that a hint of almonds? You grimace. Bad omen. From the atrium, the faint strains of a lyre drift in. Some slave practices scales, oblivious to your private war. You cross to the low window, push back the lattice, and gulp Rome's thick summer air. The city reeks of fish sauce, wood smoke, and a faint sweetness of baking honey bread that makes your empty stomach groan. Somewhere, a vendor shouts prices. Children laugh. Life spins on indifferent. Your fingers clutch the sill until the wood creaks. If you jump now, the fall would break you on the paving stones. No ceremony, no trial. But the window is too narrow for your shoulders, purposely designed to keep assassins out and, apparently, would-be suicides in. A shudder courses through your gut. Deeper. Darker. Your knees buckle. You slide down the wall. Chin on chest. Lungs heaving. Finally, yes, gods, let it be. But after 30 counted heartbeats, you still breathe. Tear shot, humiliating blur the chamber. You pound the floor with a clenched fist. Coward, you rasp at your own reflection in the water. Poison mocked you, sword daunts you, leap denies you. Outside, the drums strike a triumphant cadence, as though the whole city celebrates your impotence. Each beat drives home a single, merciless fact. The greatest battle you ever lost is the one you launched inside your own veins. An hour crawls by, measured only by the sickly gurgles in your gut and the metronome thump of the drums outside. When your joints finally unfreeze, you stagger toward the chamber where your armor hangs steel muscle casing still smeared with Caledonian mud. The sight slices open a memory. The moment you lifted that crimson vexillum high on Mons Graupius, 1,000 throats roaring your name. Now the same banner droops like a blood-soaked rag in the torchlight, and you can't decide whether to kiss it or burn it. The room smells of oiled leather and cold iron. Your lungs drink it in the way dying men drink prayers. If the gods won't accept poison, perhaps they'll accept steel. You reach for the gladius on the display rack ceremonial, yes, but still honed for parades. As your fingers close around the grip, a tremor rides up your arm, violent enough to jangle the bronze plates hanging beside it. Sweat rains from your palms. You rotate the blade, eyeing the sweet spot just beneath the sternum where a thrust might puncture the heart. You've delivered that blow 100 times in training, but the thought of turning the edge inward fogs your vision with vertigo. Coward, 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 the word hisses in tempo with your pulse. A low knock interrupts the spiral. Marcus pokes his head through the doorway, brown eyes wide. Dominus Soranus, the physician, waits in the atrium. He insists on seeing you. Your tongue sticks to your palate. Soranus? The same Greek scholar whose scroll you consulted minutes ago? Did Marcus summon him without asking? Or did the physician sense through rumor that a famous throat might soon require a nucior, a cure? Either way, your private disgrace is now a public diagnosis. Panic yanks your ribs tight, but curiosity needles harder. Can Soranus speed this botched exit? You nod, and Marcus slips away. The gladius lowers to your side, blade tip kissing mosaic. For an absurd heartbeat, you imagine Soranus bursting in with a miracle draft something so lethal it could fell an elephant mid-charge. But another, more treacherous thought bubbles up. What if he saves you instead? If the Senate learns you attempted suicide, their charges strengthen. Yet if you survive, perhaps you could still rally the 14th, cut Nero down, install a saner emperor. The idea blooms like wildfire behind your eyes. Footfalls approach. You hide the sword behind a pillar and swipe sweat from your beard. Soranus enters, lean and gray, carrying a cedar box of vials that clink like restless ghosts. The moment he smells the poison on your breath, his nostrils pinch. Hemlock? Goat's bane? Great Jupiter? Lucius? What have you swallowed? His accent rolls the R's like sea pebbles. Before you can answer, he rummages, produces a silver probe. Open, he commands. You obey as though you're back under a centurion's lash. He inspects your gums, then your pupils, his face darkening. You took too little to die, quickly just enough to torture yourself. Humiliation stings sharper than any blade. You manage a rasp. Can you finish the job? The physician snaps the box shut. I can save you pump the stomach, administer charcoal, bleed the excess. But to kill? That is a task for butchers, not healers. His rejection lands like a slap, yet something in you exhales relief. Perhaps you don't want to die after all. Soranus misreads the silence as consent for rescue. He turns toward the corridor, shouting for Marcus to fetch warm water and charcoal. That's when the crash echoes through the Veloth front doors, kicked in by iron-shod boots. Shouts in clipped Latin ripple inward. "By order of the Emperor, seize the traitor alive!" The Praetorian Guard. They're early. Your spine sizzles with adrenaline. Soranus pales, clutching his box. If they find poison in your blood, they'll flay you for sorcery. Instinct overtakes despair. You yank the gladius from hiding, its edge gleaming like a new moon. "Doctor, choose. Shield me or be swept aside." He hesitates only a breath before pressing a vial into your palm. Belladonna tincture redripit into a guard's eye, he'll be blind for minutes. Not lethal, but enough. You tuck it into your belt. Outside the chamber, Marcus roars a battle cry. The clash of steel on bronze rings out, followed by a wet grunt. Loyalty buys time, not safety. You sprint toward the atrium, bare feet slipping on marble. Each breath tastes of rust and panic. Each heartbeat feels like a mallet against a drum. Flashbacks ignite charging Germanic shield, arrows screaming overhead, but this is no open field. This is a gilded maze. A guard crashes through the curtained arch ahead, plumed helm glinting. You hurl the vial. Glass shatters against his visor, and he shrieks, clawing at his eyes. You dive past, sword carving a shallow line across his thigh-high, warning, not a kill. You still can't decide whether you're escaping Rome or charging it. The central courtyard yawns open, sky the color of spilled wine at dusk. Fountains prattle, oblivious. 2 more Praetorians bar the gate. One levels a spear, the other unslings a crossbow new Scythian design you introduced after the Dacian Wars. The irony scorches. You sidestep behind a statue of Nike. Quarrels smash into marble, exploding chips that sting your cheek. Your mind maps the villa like a siege engine. Stables lie east, alley beyond opens to the Subura slums. If you reach your horse, blend into the chaos, you can ride north, gather veterans, or vanish forever. But poison still seethes inside, a molten pebble in your gut. Dizziness skews depth. The edges of the world blur. You lunge anyway, sword punching straight into the spear-bearer's throat muscle memory older than this palace. He collapses, arterial spray painting the fountain red. The crossbowman reloads. You fling the spear shaft into his chest, knocking him flat. Your stomach heaves again. You nearly drop to one knee. No time. You snatch his fallen crossbow, aim at the gate hinge, and fire. The bronze bolt jams the mechanism. For now, the villa is your fortress, but also your cage. Marcus limps into the courtyard, tunic soaked crimson. Dominus, more approach from the Rearton, maybe 12. Blood bubbles on his lips. You grip his shoulder, sensing the tremor of approaching doom. Can you still ride? He coughs, nods. Together you half drag, half run toward the stable door. Every step is a duel between will and venom. Hoofbeats and shouted orders thunder closer Praetorians regrouping. Inside the earthy gloom of the stables, the scent of hay and horse sweat swallows the taste of copper for one blessed instant. Your war stallion Corvus stamps impatiently, black mane flashing. You fling open his stall. As you fumble with the bridle, Marcus braces the door with a pitchfork. You swing into the saddle, but dizziness tilts the world sideways. Marcus clambers up behind you, half dead but iron-willed. He jams a torch into the hay, sparks blooming into flame. A delay for them, a curtain for us, he mutters. You kick Corvus into a thunderous gallop just as the far wall erupts in firelight. The stallion bursts through a flimsy service gate into the narrow alley. Rome's evening air slaps your face, smelling of smoke, spilled wine, and distant sea salt. Somewhere behind, Praetorians shout, but the crackle of flames drowns them. You lean low over the horse's neck, heart hammering a rhythm older than empire. Escape, regroup, revenge. Yet every stride churns the half-digested poison, sending shooting pains up your spine. How far can a dying general ride? Ahead, the alley splits. Left toward the wider Cardo and the northern roads. Right toward the tangle of Subura gamblers, thieves, anonymity. Choice slices like a guillotine. Marcus wheezes behind you, blood soaking your back. Left, Dominus, your legion, waits in the north. But a fresh wave of vertigo swamps his words. The city spins. You squeeze your eyes shut, forcing breath through clenched teeth. One wrong turn, and history ends here, in a gutter. Which path do you choose? Lucius Servilius Regulus order or chaos, revolt or oblivion? The clang of distant helmets grows louder. Smoke chokes the sky. Your belly feels like a cauldron on the boil. And somewhere in that molten center, the poison flips a coin with your fate. You jerk Corvus's reins left toward the wide Cardo Maximus, and beyond it, the Flaminian Gate, artery to the northern provinces and the scattered veterans of the 14th. The stallion surges, iron-shod hooves sparking on cobblestone. Torchlight ripples across rows of closed shop fronts. Perfumers, bakers, money changers. Their wooden shutters rattle as you thunder past, a fleeing thunderclap stitched to a dying man's heartbeat. Behind, the Subura alley explodes and screams as the stable roof collapses in a bloom of fire. The inferno silhouettes Praetorian plumes like black daggers against the flames. Marcus's arms cinch your waist. Each breath he takes whistles, wet and ragged, into your ear. "Hold fast, Dominus," he mutters, voice slurred by blood loss. You glance back, his eyes glaze. Unfocused, but the sight yanks you straighter in the saddle. If you collapse now, you both die. Corvus smells your resolve and lengthens his stride, mane whipping your cheeks like a war flag. The poison claws upward again. You swallow hard, tasting sour wine and pennies. Streets pitch and yaw. Storefront lanterns smear into comets. Stay lucid, or the horse will run blind. You slap your own cheek so hard the sting echoes in your skull. Ahead, the Cardo widens into the Forum Boreum, Rome's cattle market. Even at dusk, it heaves with drovers, priests leading garlanded bulls, beggars rattling cups. You kick harder. Merchants scatter, curses swirling in every dialect of the empire. Someone hurls a basket of figs. The fruit bursts under Corvus's hooves, spraying purple pulp that looks grotesquely like gore. "Regulus!" a voice bellows behind familiar, mocking. You twist. Praetorian tribune Gaius Liviax rides at the head of a dozen mounted guards. His silver mask helmet glints like moonlit bone. "Surrender and Nero may grant a painless death," he calls. You spit copper and bile splattering the wind. The whip-crack retort of crossbow strings follows. Bolts whiz past, thudding into wooden stalls. One nicks Corvus's flank, the horse screams but powers on. A low archway looms an aqueduct spur, bridging the road. Crowds funnel beneath it, packed shoulder to shoulder. Your only chance is speed. You lean forward, whispering the old cavalry canticle into Corvus's ear. "Fly, black raven, over fields of red." The stallion lowers his head and punches a hole through humanity. Shrieks erupt. Baskets, loaves, and sacrificial garlands explode in your wake. Somewhere a priest curses Jupiter. Somewhere a child laughs, thinking this a festival pageant. Under the arch, gloom swallows you. Torches flicker on damp stone, sending jaundiced halos across sweating faces. A butcher staggers into your path, cleaver raised in protest. You yank the gladius from your belt and swat the blade from his hand without slowing, sparks showering the darkness. Emerging on the far side, you gasp at open space, the wide Via Flaminia stretching straight to the city wall. At its end, the gate towers like a granite titan, doors still flung wide for evening traffic. But two cohort sentries begin sliding the massive beams into place for curfew. "Gates closing," Marcus croaks. You taste time evaporating, 30 heartbeats, maybe less. You jab heels into Corvus. Fresh agony lances your belly poison, reminding you of its ticking hourglass. Your vision tunnels. The gate shrinks to a pinpoint framed by spinning darkness. 20 paces from the wall, traffic bottlenecks, ox carts, pilgrims, a gilded litter whose bearers shout indignantly. You veer left, vaulting onto a low market stall. Corvus leaps some miracle of muscle over the litter's silk canopy. You hear fabric rip, glass shatter, a patrician matron screech, hooves clang off an armored ox yoke, sparks spatter like miniature meteors. The sentries notice too late. One drops the beam and fumbles for his pilum. You pivot the gladius in a fencing salute. At full gallop you slash, not to kill but to disarm. His spear arm opens in a red smile and the beam crashes sideways, jamming crooked. Corvus barrels through the half-closed leaf as iron-tipped wood scrapes sparks along his barrel chest. Stone walls blur past than you are outside, tasting the wild, pine-flecked air beyond Rome. A howl of frustration rises behind as Liviax reaches the jammed gate. "Lift it! Follow!" he roars, but the beam is wedged. Oxen and litters crumple in a tangled barricade. You allow yourself a single ragged laugh, which morphs into a cough slick with stomach acid. Freedom smells like night jasmined and smoke. The city burns where your villa once stood. You wonder if the flames will reach Nero's palace, tasting ironic justice. Ahead, the moonlit ribbon of the Via Flaminia unspools northward between cypress shadows. Corvus's lungs thunder under you. Marcus's weight slumps heavier. Stay with me. You bark, but his head lolls. You glance back, his tunic now black with so much blood it glistens in moonlight. Panic spikes. I cannot lose him yet. A mile beyond the walls stands a weather-beaten tavern, the broken amphirhaunt of discharged legionaries. You yank the reins, steering into its courtyard. Lanterns sway, illuminating 2 mules and a scattering of rough men rolling dice on a barrel. They freeze at the sight of your armor and the blood-soaked shadow slumped behind you. Among them, you recognize Publius Vadia, your optio at Camulodunum, scars like crisscrossed whips on his scalp. By the gods, General, Publius blurts. Dice clatter forgotten. You slide from the saddle, knees buckle. The veterans catch you, iron grips gentler than any physician's. Marcus first, you rasp. They lift him down, his eyes flutter but find yours. North, for the Legion, he whispers, then slackens like cut rope. A sob tears your throat sharper than poison. You press trembling fingers to his neck. No pulse. Publius lays a scarred hand on your shoulder. We'll see he rides with honor, sir. Your vision swims, not from grief alone. The poison has circled back, fangs bared. You sag against a post, sweat ice cold. I swallowed hemlock botched dose. Need. Antidote and a surgeon. Publius finishes. Livius the medic keeps quarters behind the stable. He owes you 20 years of life. 2 veterans haul you toward the rear, boots thudding on packed earth. Every step jostles the molten knot in your gut. Black spots flicker across your eyes like campsite embers. Inside a low-beam chamber, lamplight reveals shelves of clay jars, reeking of vinegar and herbs. Livius stooped, owl eye rushes forward, appalled by your gray skin. He pries your jaw, sniffs, swears in Greek. Half measure of hemlock? Fool's gambit. We purge or you perish. Publius binds your arms to a bench. Another veteran wedges a leather strap between your teeth. Livius produces a funnel, a bladder of tepid water, and powdered charcoal. The next minutes are a fevered dream of gagging, choking, torrents of foul liquid splashing into a bronze bucket. Your stomach muscles cramp until tears stream unchecked. Somewhere distant, you hear hoofbeats Praetorians breaching the gate at last. Publius stations veterans at every door, blades drawn. Let them try, he snarls. Livius slaps your pallid cheek. Heart slowing need bloodletting. A lancet lances your forearm. Scarlet spurts, pooling in a chipped amphora. You watch your life drip away and wonder if death is simply a matter of volume. But fresh air seeps in, dizziness eases. The charcoal binds the poison, Livius mutters. Maybe you will live. Outside, a horn blares imperial signal. Boots pound. Publius barks orders, furniture scrapes, forming barricades. You push upright, wiping vomit and tears. I fight, you croak. Livius presses a dagger into your palm short. Balanced, mercifully, real steel. You rise on wavering legs. Publius meets your eyes firelight dancing across his ravaged scalp. 12 against 30, he says. Odds you taught us to love. Death has stalked you all day, yet battle's promise jams new iron into your spine. Somewhere beyond the tavern walls, Liviax's voice again. Surround and burn it if you must bring me Regulus alive. The phrase alive sends chills. Nero prefers slow theater. Flames crackle as torches arc over the roof, landing with dull thuds. Smoke slithers under the door, oily and black. Publius winks. We exit through the cellar tunnel old smuggler's route to the river. But first, we bleed their courage. He kicks open a shutter. Moonlight spills over a courtyard now crawling with Praetorians. Veterans unleash javelins, screams bloom. You step beside them, dagger and gladius ready. Poison, diluted blood roaring with the one anthem Rome cannot silence. Revolt. A spear crashes through the open window, pinning a cloak to the beam inches from your ear. You green a feral snarl that tastes of iron and destiny. Liviax, you shout into the smoke-choked night. Come witness how a sloppy suicide becomes a clean rebellion. Somewhere in the haze, the tribune curses. The tavern roof groans, timbers igniting. Heat licks your face, sweat steams off your skin. Publius grabs your arm, jerking his chin toward a trapdoor behind the bar. Last chance, General. Live now, fight tomorrow. Your legs tremble, half dead, half reborn. Flames spit like furious serpents from the rafters. Above the roar, you hear the river rushing in the dark, a cold highway to the north. You lock eyes with Publius, then with the blazing doorway where Liviax's silhouette advances. Which path this time, Lucius' frontline glory or calculated escape? Heat slams your face like a smith's bellows the instant you pivot toward the trapdoor. The tavern's thatch roof, now an upside-down inferno, crackles overhead each pop of sapwood another countdown click. Publius kicks loose burned planks, revealing the narrow ladder plunging into the earth. Acrid smoke rasps your lungs, carrying the scorched meat stench of fallen Praetorians outside. Your ears ring with their dying whale sand with Liviax's barked commands as he muscles through the main door. Shield wall, advance! The sight of that silver mask helmet gouges something primal inside you. End him now, a voice snarls, hot as the flames. But another voice calmer, colder counts the slashes of pain still zigzagging your abdomen. You've bought minutes, not miracles. Northward awaits the Legion and enough steel to carve Nero off his throne. To die here would swap one sloppy suicide for another. Decision made, you hiss to Publius, down now! You lower yourself into the throat of the earth. Damp air hugs your sweat, slick skin. The ladder's rungs creak treacherously, dropping you into a tunnel barely wider than your shoulders. Torchlight from above silhouettes Publius as he clubs the trapdoor shutter and drags a keg shelf over it. From beyond, Liviax's voice booms. Burn the floorboards! Sparks rain through gaps, sizzling on the cellar dirt. Publius thumps to the ground beside you, panting. The veteran in the rear jams an iron bar under the rung brackets. The wood warps and hisses, but holds for now. The tunnel stretches northeast, braced with damp black timbers. Candle stubs glow at 10-pace intervals, casting spider shadows. You taste mold, river mud, and something coppery you hope isn't more blood. Footsteps slosh as your boots find ankle-deep water. Icy shock wakes every poisoned nerve. Behind, muffled thunk-thunk-thunks announce Praetorians battering the trapdoor. Splinters sift down like dirty snow. Move! You order! Voice croaking. Publius signals the men forward. 8 of you left, counting yourself. Not an army but embers. Each staggered stride hammers your abdomen, but the charcoal in your stomach has dulled the fire to a simmering bruise. You focus on the tunnel's rhythm. Splash breathe, splash breathe. A rat skitters over your boot. You flinch, blade twitching, then laugh at the absurdity the conqueror of Gaul startled by vermin. Laughter edges into coughs. Bile tinged with charcoal grit rasps your throat. Publius casts a sideways glance. Colors returning, he says. Look like marble when you rode in. You grunt, half thanks, half warning. After 200 paces, the tunnel kinks sharply upward. You hear the hush of open night and, closer, the river's steady murmur. A wooden hatch blocks the exit, disguised as a refuse grate. 2 veterans shoulder it up, letting in cool air that smells of wet clay, rushes, and distant pine smoke. Stars glory of unroofed freedom spangle the slice of sky. Yet even they seem to pulse with urgency. Hurry. One by one, you emerge onto a moon-silvered embankment. The Tiber rolls black and quietly treacherous 10 paces away. Barges bob at a dilapidated jetty, their mooring ropes slick with moss. Publius gestures to a wide-hulled ferryman's scow. Takes livestock across at dawn should float 8 men easy. He leaps aboard. Planks groan but hold. You follow, knees wavering as the deck sways. The ferryman himself snores under a canvas tarp. A veteran clamps a hand over the man's mouth, whispers, "For Rome," and clubs him into quivering silence. Mercy? Perhaps later. Or slap water. The scow noses into the current, quivering like an unbroken colt. Onshore, the tavern roof collapses in a geyser of sparks, painting the sky hell orange. A roar rises Praetorians spotting your escape route. Silhouettes sprint toward the riverbank, shields flashing. A quarrel whistles past your ear, punch holes the canvas awning. Water splashes your face, cold as mountain melt, jolting you alert. Publius hauls the steering pole, bellowing orders. 2 veterans row, muscles slick in moonlight. The Tiber's sluggish current drags you mid-river. Bolts plonk the water astern, each hiss another heartbeat-long reprieve. Liviax's silver mask reflects firelight as he strides onto the dock. Fury incarnate, he lifts a torch, pitching it underhand. Fiery arc then woof as it lands short, sizzling out. The river keeps its secrets tonight. "Regulus!" his voice cracks across water. Run north, hide in shadows, you'll still lose. Rome remembers only victors, never rebels. His words echo off rippling black glass. You swallow them like bitter wine, vengeance distills hotter. Mid-channel, smoke haze thins, river breeze carries reed, sweet perfume. Publius collapses beside you, chest heaving. Gates behind, walls farther. They'll mount in pursuit by dawn, but we'll have ours. You nod, mentally tracing the Via Flaminia's milestones. Narni in 2 days, then the Umbrian Valley, then if gods favor the Legion's veterans quartered near Bononia. But first, medicine. Your belly still churns like a cauldron of nails. Overhead, a lone owl hoots an augury Romans, read as warning or guidance, depending on hope's appetite. You close your eyes, asking the dead Marcus, the butchered Britons, the nameless slavestow weigh your cause. All you hear back is the river gurgling beneath planks. Yet purpose settles like a cloak across your shoulders. The poison tried to silence you. The Praetorians failed. Next, you take the fight to the emperor who forced your hand. At the western bank, willows drape over stone steps. The scow thuds against mud. You disembark into knee-high reeds, dew soaking your greaves. Publius signals silent allocation. 2 scouts ahead, 2 flanking, 1 rear. You pull your cloak tighter, then stumble as a fresh stab of pain ribs your side. Livius's charcoal purged much, but not all. Every mile north will be a duel between your will and the half-dead venom still gnawing your gut. A thin path threads into pine-dark forest. Crickets trill, resin tang mingles with wood smoke drifting from farmsteads beyond the ridge. The world out here feels raw, unwatched opposite of Rome's marble stage. But you can't shake the phantom itch of Liviax's stare, like a brand between your shoulder blades. You mutter a soldier's oath against pursuit, touching the gladius hilt, metal comfort, metal promise. The column trudges until the moon crowns treetops. Finally, you call halt in a clearing carpeted with pine needles that hush every footstep. Veterans drop packs, rub aching shoulders. One kindles a thumb-sized fire pit, its glow cautious, ember dim. You sit against a mossy stump, breathing through gritted teeth as spasms cramp deep. Livius squats beside you, checking pulse. Strong enough, he says. But rest is non-negotiable. Poison residual could seize the heart under strain. His gaze hardens. If you die en route, Nero's tale writes itself. Then write a different ending. You rasp. He nods, producing a leather pouch. You extract analgesic, fend the pain, keep senses sharp, and honey cakes. Eat slowly. You chew, the sweetness skating over tongue raw from bile. Warmth unfurls. Pain retreats to a distant drum beat. Around the tiny fire, men talk in low murmurs. Of wives left in Britannia, of Nero's lunatic recitals, of the last harvest shortfall. Fear threads every syllable, yet so does belief that a half-poisoned general can ignite a war worth fighting. That knowledge crushes your chest more than any accusation of treason. Responsibility is heavier than imperial marble. As first feathers of dawn gray the east, Publius returns from sentry duty. Road's clear for now, he reports, rubbing his scarred scalp. But scouts glimpsed a cavalry patrol by Milvian Bridge, likely Liviax on the hunt. Your fingers tighten around the gladius. We move before sunrise, you decide. Speed over stealth. I'd rather meet them in open ground than be ridden down from behind. Publius peers at the horizon. And if the poison rises again? You force a thin smile. Then carve me a litter and tie me to it. A corpse at the front still inspires more than a live coward in chains. Livius snorts at the bravado but offers no medical rebuttal. A hush falls. Above, dawnbirds begin their choral skirmish, slicing night into ribbons of sound. For a heartbeat, you allow yourself to savor the simple miracle of being alive, heart beating, lungs filling, future uncertain but yours to seize. Then the forest breeze shifts, carrying a distant clatter of hooves and the familiar metallic rattle of armor. Publius meets your gaze. No words needed. You heave up, joints popping. The stale taste of copper licks back across your tongue, reminder of how close death still lurks. You wipe your mouth, tighten your cloak, step onto the dew-paled path. Somewhere up this road, fate sharpens its blade. Whether it bears Nero's name or yours remains an unwritten line. With the sun bleeding into a new sky behind you and pursuit closing like hungry dogs, you march north toward Legion, toward reckoning, toward a destiny that refused to be swallowed. Sunrise hits you like a cymbal, clash-white gold shards ricocheting through the pine canopy, sparking every dewdrop into glare. Your eyes sting, pupils sluggish from the poison, but you keep marching. Publius has the veterans in a spread formation, 2 scouts well ahead. 2 guarding the rear, you and Livius in the center. The medic fusses, insisting your pace will reopen the raw furnace in your gut. Your reply is the hiss of a drawn breath and the steel click of your gladius sliding a finger's width free. Pain is a spearhead. The harder it presses, the sharper you feel. The dirt track bends onto a low ridge, revealing the Milvian bridge sprawled across the glittering Tiber like a stone spine. On the far bank, a Praetorian cohort mills 40, maybe 50 helmets glinting, horses stamping steam into the chill dawn. In their midst, silver-masked Liviax gestures like a puppeteer yanking strings. He hasn't seen you yet. Cypress shadows cloak your ridge. Publius mutters, "We cut downslope ford upstream," but your gaze rivets to the bridge's lion-carved parapet sand, to the supply wagon stalled mid-span, wheel broken, 2 oxen lowing in frustration. A thought flickers like flint. Block the crossing, divide their strength. You weigh it against your venom-laced pulse. One reckless charge could finish, yet might buy the hours the Legion needs to rally. A tremor shivers up your spine, but it's not fear. It's anticipation, raw as forge. Heat. We take the bridge. You decide, voice quiet, final. Publius's grin spreads, savage and boyish. The plan snaps together in heartbeats. Scouts loop wide, slipping downriver through reeds, while you, Publius, and 2 veterans circle left, descending the ridge's shadowed flank. Every footstep is a wager, 1 loose stone, 1 clank of armor, and Liviax's archers skewer you before you taste the air on the span. But fortune tilts, the wind carries their campfire smoke south, masking any scent of you. At the river's edge, you crouch behind a boulder leopard, spotted with lichen. 30 paces above, the bridge's underarch yawns. The stench of moss and wet limestone fills your nostrils. Publius hoists himself onto the span's low maintenance ledge, fingers finding ancient chisel marks. You follow, arms burning, sweat salting your lips. As you crest the parapet, the world snaps into tableau. Dawn pink mist whirls over the river. The crippled ox wagon groans mid-span. Beyond it, Liviax strides toward the broken wheel, barking at a mechanic slave. His back is to you a silver bullseye begging for a fatal arrow you don't have. Publius signals 3, 2, 1. You vault the parapet. Boots slap stone. The sound turns every Praetorian head. Gasps kink the air. Before shock and harden into formation, you're moving lunging at the closest guard. Gladius punching clean through the joint behind his collarbone. Steel grinds bone. Hot blood sprays your forearm. You rip free, pivot, and hurl the body under the oxen's hooves. Beasts bellow, rearing, wagon lurching sideways to jam against the parapet wall-instant barricade. Liviax wheels, silver mask catching the sun, blade flashing out. "Regulus!" Fury pitches his voice into a cracked snarl. He rushes, but your veterans flood the narrow lane, steel meeting steel in a clangor that shakes pigeons from the arches. On the bridge's roam-side apron, the scouts spring their trap-torching supply carts stacked with wine barrels. Flames roar skyward. Pitch, black smoke gushes, choking archers' sightlines. Half the cohort spins to douse the inferno, leaving Liviax exposed with only a knot of elite guards. You press, hacking, thrusting, every muscle chanting the old kill rhythm. Step, stab, step, shield. Pain sears your abdomen, but adrenaline nails it beneath a plank of ice. A helmeted face looms. You smash its visor with your pommel, feel cartilage crunch like ripened plum. Liviax closes long, Spatha whistling. You barely parry. Vibration numbs your wrist. His next cut opens your left shoulder, hot metal kiss. You taste copper again, but this time it's not poison, it's promise. You drive forward inside his reach, slam your shoulder wound into his breastplate to jam him, then slice upward. The gladius chisels a groove across his mask, sparks flying. He staggers, roar muffled, and you sense the onlookers' collective intake of breath fear trembles their shield rims. "You should have let me die quietly," you hiss. He spits blood. "I'll watch you die screaming." Around you, chaos. Veterans topple opponents into the river. Archers flail blind in smoke. Oxen ball. Liviax lunges again. Your parry is half a beat late. Spatha point slides along your ribs, snagging armor rings, grazing flesh. Fireworks of pain detonate under your sternum. The poison, shaken awake, floods back dizziness, swirls edges of sight. Liviax sees it, grins crimson. In that heartbeat, your father's ghost speaks. A soldier's strength isn't muscle, it's memory. You recall the training yard at Capuold Masterverus, drilling the reversal stroke. Let the enemy's momentum carry him. You feign collapse, knees buckling. Liviax surges, overcommits. You twist aside, trapping his sword arm under yours, hip throwing him toward the wagon. Wood splinters. He crashes amid shattered axle, pinned between yoke and parapet. His helm clanks free, revealing sweat-slick blonde hair and eyes wide with sudden human fear. You plant your boot on the wagon bed, Gladius poised at his throat. Around, combat pauses as if Jupiter himself hit the arena gong. Oxen snort, steam coiling. Somewhere a cartwheel still spins, creaking. Liviax chokes, "If you kill me, Nero will." "Nero already signed my death warrant," you cut in. "I'm just returning the favor." You raise the blade, yet a flicker of strategy halts the swing. A living tribune is bargaining currency proof of Emperor's fear, a hostage to compel hesitating legions. The thought tastes cold, calculating exact opposite of the copper seethe in your mouth. Publius calls, "General, more riders advancing from the south bank." Dust clouds on the horizon confirm a fresh detachment thunders up the Via Flaminia, time knives thin. You snatch Liviax by the gorget, haul him upright. Bind him. You order 2 veterans. Legion loves trophies. They lash his wrists, gag him with a fragment of his own silk sash. His eyes blaze hatred hotter than the sunrise. You pivot to the remaining Praetorians. "Rome doesn't need Nero's circus," you shout, voice ragged but resonant. "It needs soldiers, grain, justice. Stand down or drown beneath that tyrant's lies." Your words ricochet across stone. Some guards falter helmets, turning toward the city as if seeing it anew. Others snarl, tightening grips. Choice seeds suspicion. That's enough. Publius shoulders into formation, torch in hand. He touches it to the wagon's tar-soaked canvas. Flames whoosh, devouring. "Bridge is ours, General," he says, grinning through soot. Smoke billows thick. A signal banner visible for miles. Rebellion's first bonfire. You gesture north, lungs heaving shards of air. Strip weapons, mount up, ride. The veterans scramble, scavenging bows, pilums, unhitched horses. You vault onto a Praetorian charger, speckled gray, muscles trembling but blood roaring. Livius the medic splints a wounded scout, then swings behind another rider. As the first detachment from the south bank storms into view, flames leap higher, beams cracking. Oxen bellow, trapped between inferno and river. You wheel the charger, lock eyes with Publius. "Burn the span once we're clear," you command. He salutes, expression fierce, and lights a fresh brand. Hooves drum across stone. You burst onto the far bank. Scouts scatter to fell trees across the road, a living barricade. Behind, Publius plunges his torch into oil barrels lining the wagon's deck. A thunderclap of flame erupts. Smoke mushrooms skyward. The bridge becomes a fiery throat none dare enter. The detachment reins back, horses shrilling. Through gaps in the conflagration, you glimpse Liviax cursing, bound, as veterans shove him northward. Wind shoves smoke into your face, stinging eyes. The taste of copper surges anew, but this time it's tempered by the sweet tang of pine smoke, victory, and the faint, echo-loud cheer of your men realizing they've snatched the Empire's pulse for a single glorious heartbeat. Ahead lies the open road, hills rolling toward Umbria, towns that still remember your name, and veterans waiting for a banner to rally. Behind, Rome's marble spires fade behind a pillar of black smoke, twisting like a dark omenor, a herald's plume. You press your hand to the throbbing wound along your ribs. Blood seeps through fingers, warm and real. Maybe the poison will reclaim you tonight, maybe an assassin's blade tomorrow. But in this blazing instant, destiny feels less like a noose and more like reins clutched in your shaking fist. You kick the charger to a canter, heart pounding in rhythm with the gallop, and imagine the rumor already racing ahead. He poisoned himself and missed. Now he marches back to finish the job on Rome itself. The sun climbs, hot and uncompromising, painting the road before you in molten gold. Each heartbeat is a hammer, each breath a promise. And somewhere far ahead, the 14th Legion's eagle flutters in morning wind, waiting for its general to raise it once more. Noon boils off the road in shimmering waves, turning the cobbles into molten mirrors. Every exhale tastes of iron and pine sap. Every inhale scorches your lungs with dust and triumph. You ride at the head of a ragged column 12 veterans, 3 captured Praetorians, and a bound Liviax slumped like a gutted hawk across a spare horse. His silver mask dangles from your saddle pommel, the sun reflecting off its gouged cheek like a signal flare. Behind you, Publius hums a soldier's drinking song, his baritone wobbling where smoke scraped his throat. Each verse swells your men's ragged voices into something that feels alarmingly like hope. The Via Flaminia tilts into Umbrian foothills, cypress giving way to oak and chestnut. Granaries dot the slow Pesquare stone towers with crimson-tiled roofs. Peasants pause midfield, shading eyes at your passing. When they spot the Praetorian prisoner, their murmured prayers turn to startled cheers. They remember your name, Regulus, hero of Britain campaigns, the man who once distributed captured grain after a bad harvest. An old woman limps forward, pressing a warm flatbread into your hands. The smell rosemary, olive oil makes your starving belly growl louder than the poisoned ache under your ribs. You break the loaf, hand half to Livius. He nods his thanks, then slips a pinch of crushed willow bark into your piece. For fever, he murmurs. The bitterness rides the bread, but the pain in your side ebbs enough for you to straighten in the saddle. At Spoleto's hilltop walls, the town guard tries to block the gate. You wheel the gray charger, letting the sun catch the silver mask. Rome declared me dead. You shout, but I'm still breathing and I carry Nero's tribune in chains. Murmurs ripple along the battlements, the portcullis rises. Inside, the forum erupts. Tavern keeps slam shutters, shepherd dogs bark, and merchants push forward with amphorae of water and wine, eager to buy goodwill before the next tide turns. Publius requisitions mules, barley, and 4 fresh recruits veterans, turned cobblers, who change back into leather-scarred armor without question. You leave Spoleto in a clatter of hooves and promises. Grain deliveries to be repaid after Rome is cleansed. Dusk bleeds purple across the sky as you crest a ridge overlooking Lake Trasimenia sheet of hammered bronze catching last light. The valley beyond shivers with campfires. A retirement colony of legionaries, 300 strong, settled here after Dalmatia's wars. Their standard still flies above the palisade. The tarnished eagle, the 14th, wings clipped by moths but unbroken. Heart thunders. Signal them, you tell Publius. A scout steals downhill, torch spiraling a coded pattern. Moments stretch. Then, from the fort, torches answer 3 quick sweeps. The gate swings wide. Inside, time rewinds to campaign nights on the northern frontier. The pungent stew of lentils and goat bubbling over trenches. The clang of sword on whetstone. Men swapping ghost stories to drown winter wind. Now those same mingray-bearded, pot-bellied, scars crawling like ivy spring to attention when you dismount. The camp prefect, Petrus Varro, salutes, fist to heart. Word said you poisoned yourself. His smile is all wolf. Seems rumor tastes of dung. You clasp arms, feel his calluses bite your wrist. Liviax is hauled before them. Varro spits at the tribune's boots. A Praetorian, eh? Good trade bait. Or a good practice dummy. Under torchlight, you climb a wagon, the silver mask in hand. Voices hush, the lake's waves gulping the silence. Comrades, you begin, throat thick. Rome has rotted. The emperor fiddles while he bleeds us dry, and the Senate signs false indictments faster than scribes can sharpen quills. Yesterday, I chose death by poison cowardice. The gods spat me back so I could choose the legion instead. You hold up the mask. Nero thinks this face is Rome's power. I say power lives here. You thump your breastplate, the clang echoing across helmets. Ride with me to Bononia. We seize the main garrison, nail this mask over the gates, and coin a new future before our children inherit chains. An electric stillness hangs then Varro roars. Aquila! 100 voices answer, Aquila! The old eagle is wrested from its shrine, firelight bathes its dented bronze in molten gold. Veterans kneel, swear the ancient oath to follow always, to fear never. As they speak, your knees wobble, vision swimming from exertion and infection. Livius is there, sliding a cool hand to your pulse. Fever climbing, he warns. You nod but keep your sword arm raised until the last syllable of the oath fades. Night deepens. Camp surgeons slice your tunic, poultice the rib gouge with honey and wine. The pain is a white sun until opium beads melt under your tongue. Then it becomes distant thunder. Varro sets triple watches, fearing Praetorian pursuit. You drift on a cot inside a supply hut, the canvas smelling of pitch and old campaign maps. Dreams slam open flashes of Nero's gilded banquet hall, slaves weeping blood, your own hands shackled to a theater stage while the crowd bays for entrails. You jolt awake drenched in sweat, the taste of copper thicker than ever. Outside, owls trade hunting calls. In their rhythm, you hear the ticking of destiny's hammer. Before dawn, drums reel once throb beyond the palisade. Scouts drag in a prisoner. A young Praetorian courier, face bruised, scroll hidden in his boot. Publius breaks the seal, orders for provincial governors to arrest the traitor Regulus on sight and return his severed head. Your men pass the parchment hand to hand, anger brewing louder than any drum. Vero crushes the wax with his thumb. We march at first light. Sunrise ignites a storm-red sky, as if the gods painted a warning across the horizon. 300 riders file out, eagle at the fore, Liviacs chained to the standard pole. Each hoofall stirs dust ghosts of legions past. You ride flanked by Varro and Publius. Livius lingers behind, eyes fixed on your pallor. The opium has burned off. Every breath rasps knives under rib and gut, but the fever haze sharpens into a kind of holy clarity. The world resolves into 3 imperatives. Protect the men. Reach Bononia. Bring Rome to its knees. Mid-morning, the column enters a cedar-lined gorge. Shadows pool, birds fall silent. Varro raises a clenched fist ambush sign. Too late. Javelins scream from cliff tops, impaling the vanguard. Screams ricochet. Auxiliary scouts loyal to the governor of Umbria swarm, shields painted with the wolf and laurel of Nero's household guard. Dust explodes as hidden cavalry surge from the tree line, blades flashing. You wheel, bellow orders, voice tearing raw. Block the gorge mouth, pull wounded to a central knot, archers on the flanks. The eagle dips, then steadies as Varro plants it like a lightning rod. Liviax laughs behind his gag, eyes fever bright. He smells blood. A stabbing pulse of dizziness blurs your sight. Still, you raise the gladius, charging into the maelstrom. Steel meets steel. The gorge becomes a smithy of sparks, screams, and splintered bone. In the chaos, you spot the auxiliary commander, a hulking Thracian with a boar tusk helm rallying his men for a downhill push. You break through a tangle of horse bodies, leap from the saddle, and tackle him off his mount. The fall bursts agony through your poisoned gut, but adrenaline steamrolls it. You plunge your dagger under his chin. Blood fountains, painting cedar trunks black-red. The auxiliaries falter at their champion's collapse. Varro's riders surge, hacking them apart or driving them into ravines. 10 heartbeats later, it's over. The gorge floor slicks with gore. Survivors drop weapons, begging quarter. Your men cheer, the sound more ragged prayer than victory chant. Yet every cheer drills your skull, mixing with a roar of nausea. Livius rushes to you. The wound at your ribs has reopened, crimson-soaking bandages. You taste the metallic tang of collapse. General, he snaps, if we don't staunch this now, you'll bleed out before Bononia. You sway, boots squishing in mud and blood. Through the haze, you clock Liviax studying the tremor in your knees, the gray on your lips. He's calculating whether to taunt you or seize an opportunity. You plant the gladius tip in the soil, using it as a crutch. Bind me to the saddle, you order Livius through clenched teeth. I'll bleed in motion. Keep the column rolling. Livius curses in Greek but obeys, lashing you in place. As riders reorganize, Varro drags the auxiliary commander's boar tusk helm to your feet. Souvenir? You shove it onto Liviax's head, tusks framing his bruised cheeks. A reminder, you tell him, leaning close so only he hears, that every mile north adds another nail in Nero's coffin and yours. His eyes flicker with something new, unease. At high noon, the column rides again, slower now, burdened by wounded and the weight of fresh ghosts. The sun brands your feverish skin. Sweat crawls salt trails into the split seams of your wound. Each heartbeat pumps lava down your side, but the road unspools, and with it, the distant spires of Bononia shimmer into possibility. Somewhere beyond those towers lies the garrison's full Strength 5 cohorts who once carved their honor under your command. If they answer your call, Rome will quake. If they don't, today's victory will fossilize into one more forgotten skirmish. As the afternoon shadows lengthen, thunderheads mount over the Apennines, bruised and towering. A storm gathering skies reflection of the Empire's cracking heart. Lightning forks in the distance, illuminating Bononia's watchtowers like ghostly pillars. You draw a breath, coppery and electric. The next 24 hours will decide whether history remembers Lucius Servilius Regulus as a failed suicide or as the spark that burned Nero's world to ash. Twilight drapes Bononia in bruise-colored clouds, the last sun glints winking off the town's basalt walls like dying embers. Thunder rumbles across the Apennines, rolling toward you in slow, gut-shaking waves. The column halts at a copse of wind-thrashed cedars 2 bow shots from the eastern gate. Rain begins as scattered taps on bronze helms, gathering to a hard, slanted hiss that slicks every cloak and keeps the stink of blood fresh in the nostrils. You taste iron mingled with ozonias if the very sky knows a reckoning is moments away. Publius leans close, rainwater striping the soot on his cheeks. Scouts report 30 city guards on the gate, plus the garrison prefect's cohort drilling in the parade yard. No word which way their loyalty tilts. You nod, feeling fever shiver beneath your armor like a caged wolf. Livius presses the back of his hand to your brow, his eyes darken. If the wound reopens in a charge, you'll pass out before the portcullis rises. You grip his wrist, then bind me tighter. He obeys, wrapping fresh linen beneath cuirass straps until each breath scrapes ribs raw. The plan forms like lightning instant, blinding. First, shock, display Liviax and the silver mask. Second, story, remind the cohort whose standard led them across Rhine ice and Caledonian bog. Third, symbol, raise the battered eagle against Nero's gilded lie. You turn to the captive tribune. Rain has plastered his hair across his brow, boar tusk helm perched askew. Even gagged, his eyes spit fire. Time to earn your keep, you snarl, yanking him forward by the chain. You ride out alone at first grey charger, splashing through puddles that mirror coils of lightning overhead. Liviax's reins are tied to yours. He stumbles alongside, shackled wrists high so every sentry can see. Torches atop the battlements bob uncertainly. Silhouettes peer down. You stop at throwing distance, plant your gladius in the mud, and haul the silver mask aloft so the torchlight flames across its gouged cheek. Wind whips your cloak like a battle flag. Soldiers of Bononia, you bellow, voice punching through thunder. Lucius Servilius Regulus lives. Rome told you I was a traitor. Nero told you I was dead. Lies. You toss the mask into the mud. Behold the tribune who carried that lie. You rip Liviax's gag away. Rain-diluted blood trickles from his split lip. Tell them, tribune, who ordered my head. Liviax glares upward. The emperor, he spits, voice ragged. Gasps ripple along the wall walk. The torchline flickers as helmets tilt toward each other. You raise a hand, palm outward. I do not seek your coin or your fear. I seek Rome returned to honor. Open these gates and stand with the 14th, or bar them and be counted with tyrants. A heartbeat of silence. Then a clank portcullis chains, rattling. The gatehouse commander, Centurion Aelia Crispushix, cratered by old pox, eyes sharp as flintlings over the parapet. Regulus, I bled under you at Mons Graupius. Swear you're not marching us into civil slaughter for glory. You draw your dagger, slice linen bandage from your side. The gash oozes fresh crimson despite rain. I'm already dead, Crispus. This is for our sons. Another thunderclap closer, Savages stitches the pause. The portcullis shudders, then lifts, creaking like an old god waking. Publius surges the column forward, eagle held high. Veterans file beneath the arch, rain dripping from mailed fists. Inside, torches outline ranks of garrison troops in tense formation, shields crossed. At their head stands Prefect Gnaeus Faustus broad-shouldered, helmet crest crimson. His hand lifts, signaling hold. Regulus enters with steel sheathed, he calls, or we skewer him on arrival. You meet his gaze, then shove your gladius into its scabbard. Publius follows, the veterans echo. Hoofclops echo on paving stones as you dismount in the parade ground center. Rain slants in hard, bouncing off helmets. Faustus steps forward, sword angled but not raised. The Senate brands you oathbreaker. Give me one reason not to clap you in irons. You reach into your saddlebag, withdraw the courier's scroll bearing Nero's seal, now rain-wrinkled but legible. You read aloud, voice cold as sleet. Return the traitor's severed head. You toss the parchment at his feet. Nero traffics in fear. I traffic in futures. Faustus stoops, scans the wax, jaw working. Around him murmur swellmen recognizing imperial cruelty in ink. Before doubt can harden into choice, you seize the eagle standard from Publius, thrust it skyward. Lightning forks, briefly welding bronze wings to white fire. Who does your oath bind you to? You shout. A madman strumming lyres over burning Slumser, the brother fighting beside you. The question cracks like a whip. Faustus hesitates, sword wavering. Liviax sees the shift, hisses, cowards, and spits blood at his own cohort. That word detonates. A young legionary shoves forward, jaw trembling. Prefect, my father starved while Nero raced chariots with eunuchs. Others nod, anger blooming in rain-washed eyes. The balance tips. Faustus sheathes his blade, drops to one knee before the eagle. The 14th stands with Regulus. Shields thud ground in unanimous thunder, helmets bow. A roar erupts out anguish, half exultation echoing off whetstone. Victory tastes like forge smoke and adrenaline, but the fever chooses that instant to surge. Knees liquefy, the eagle blurs. Livius is there, catching your shoulders as darkness pulses at the edges. You grip his arm. Not yet, you rasp. He presses a mug of vinegar-spiked water to your lips. Sour bite snaps you back. Faustus rises, eyes fierce. Orders, General? You scan the drenched, face-sold comrades, new loyalists, hearts beating in sync with storm drums overhead. First, chain Praetorians in the deep cells. Treat wounded, salt the meat, sharpen blades. At dawn, we ride south. Faustus salutes and strides off, barking commands. Lightning answers, jagged spears splitting clouds. Publius nudges your elbow, voice low. Rome knows by now we've taken Bononia. Nero will empty the treasury to break us. You nod, the eagle's weight steady in your fist. Then we march faster than coin can travel. Thunder growls assent. Over the rampart, you glimpse torches threading countryside roads, farmers flocking, rumors embers caught by wind, each torch a spark in the prairie of discontent. You raise the eagle until rain cascades off its wings like baptism. Tonight, you tell the gathering officers, we are no longer men merely refusing to die. We are the storm marching home. In the distance, the first siege horn of Nero's advance guard bleats a thin, quavering note lost beneath sky's thunder. You smile, copper on your tongue, thunder in your chest, the legion's reborn heartbeat in your ears. Rain rat-a-tats the tile roofs all night. But inside Bononia's forum-turned war room, the air boils with a different storm maps unrolled. Oil lamps sputtering, armor creaking as newly sworn officers crowd around the central table. You stand at its head, right hand braced on the eagle staff, left clenched against the linen wrapping your ribs. Fever radiates like forged heat through your veins, yet your eyes burn bright, reflecting lamplight the way steel reflects dawn. Livius hovers near, mortar and pestle grinding willow, and Poppy into a muddy draft. You shake your head. After the plan is set, you mouth. He scowls but steps back. The scouts' reports come in staccato bursts. Pranestine road clear but garrison at a curriculum alerted. Praetorian cavalry column left Rome before dusk, strength unknown, banners of the household guard. Civic militias in Clusium and Veii refuse imperial levies. Farmers hide pitchforks beneath altar cloths, waiting for your signal. Publius jabs a dagger tip into the wax overlay, tracing a bold line south. 2 forced marches to a curriculum, quick strike at their supply echelon. From there we ride the Via Flaminia, straight to Rome's Milvian Bridge before Nero can dig in. Varro grunts agreement, scarred scalp shining with sweat. Strike the head, the body spasms, murmurs of assent ripple. You lift your gaze, sweeping their rain-lined faces. Speed is our shield. We do not dawdle to feed every ember of rebellion. We are the lightning that ignites them. The words slice the haze of fatigue, back straighten, jaws set. But the moment you pause, a tremor rides your spine, poisons aftershock or simple exhaustion. You cannot tell. You clamp it inside iron discipline. Liviax, shackled to a column, laughs a harsh chime. You think you'll stroll to Rome, the Tiber will run red with your hubris. Publius strides over, silences him with a mailed fist, but the echo lingers. You let it dangle, a goad-sharpening resolve. Near midnight, the officers disperse to rouse companies. Torches streak through rain like comets. Anvils ring as smiths refit dented helms, every clang hammering the night into readiness. You finally allow Livius to press the cup to your lips. The potion tastes of bark and ash, but dull warmth spreads, turning agony down to a livable throb. Sleep 2 hours, he orders. Your body is clay on a wheel too much spin. It shatters. You nod, but your mind spirals around tactics even as eyelids sag. Dreams stalk you again, hallucinatory flashes of Nero crowned in serpents, of Marcus's lifeless body drifting in a river of hemlock. You jolt awake before dawn, sweat gluing linen to skin. Outside, thunder has rolled east. The sky now a hard jasper gray. Horns bray assembly. You cinch breastplate, bite down on pain hard enough to blur vision, and mount the gray charger newly armored and scavenged scale. Rain has washed yesterday's blood from its flanks. The animal snorts, impatient for the road. At the eastern gate, 3 cohorts nearly 1,500 soul stand in wedge formation, shields embossed with hastily painted thunderbolts. The eagle gleams at the point, bronze wings catching the first sickle-thin slice of sunrise. You wheel to the front, lift your voice above the shuffle of boots and creak of leather. Rome's heart beats poisoned, but remember, a heart can be cut out and replaced. We ride to excise rot. We ride for brothers starved by taxes, for sisters sold to pay Nero's debts, for the honor buried under marble lies. We ride and we do not stop until we plant this eagle on the Capitol rock or break it on the gates of Hades. A roar answers, raw and ragged, rolling across the battlements like surf. Centurion Crispus drops the portcullis behind the last file, sealing retreat. Thunderclouds bruise the western horizon again, but the road ahead glows gold under dawn. The column surges south, hooves drumming a war song older than empire. Fields blue emerald vineyards, hay stubble, poppy splashies each, mile a bead on destiny's abacus. Livius rides beside you often, checking the bandage that now weeps pink through linen. Every time he frowns deeper. Flesh knitting unevenly, fever climbing, he mutters. You grunt, throttle a cough that tastes of metal filings. Just past Mavania, scouts flag trouble. An imperial supply convoy crossing a stone causeway, 50 mules laden with grain and ballista parts, escorted by 2 maniples of Praetorians. Perfect prey. You signal a quiet detour through olive groves. Rain-wet leaves slap your cloak as your vanguard creeps within bowshot. Publius counts down with raised fingers 3, 2. 1 then arrows hiss like a nest of vipers. The escort crumples in confusion. Veterans charge, blades flashing. Within 10 minutes the mules are yours, the survivors kneeling in mud, shaking. You offer them a choice, join or be bound. Half slam fist to heart, swearing new fealty while tossing imperial insignia into a ditch. The other half, choose rope. Grain is distributed on the march, dry kernels chewed like victory seeds. But the skirmish costs time and time, is Nero's coin. Late afternoon, thunderheads finally break overhead, sky-vomiting sheets of rain so dense the column splinters into ragged clusters. Mud sucks at hooves, wagons bog. The wound in your ribs pulses with every jolt. Fever paints the world in wavering halos. At a choke point bridge near Carsule, lightning spears a cypress 2 lengths behind, showering the ranks in sparks and splinters. Horses rear. Men cross themselves. You bark, steadying orders, voice hoarse. But inside a whisper claws. What if the gods strike because you cheated death? Night finds you at the ruins of an abandoned villa perched above a bend in the Nero River. Wind howls through roofless corridors, marble nymphs stare eyeless into storm. Fires sputter in the atrium, casting giant shadows of men stripping off drenched mail. Surgeons tend arrow scrapes and saddle sores by torchlight. The smell of boiled wine poultices blends with wet wool and exhaustion. You sit propped against a toppled column, Livius carving pus from your reopened slice, sweat greasing your temples despite cold air. Another inch, and you'll bleed into the lung, he warns. You grip broken marble until fingers blanch. Tomorrow we ride lighter. You croak. He shakes his head. Better you ride in a cart. The glare you return could melt bronze. Wind carries distant horn, blasts imperial signals somewhere south. Publius jogs in, rain streaming from helmet brim. Scouts sighted campfires 3 miles ahead. Maybe the household cavalry column. They hold the high ridge over the Flaminian causeway. If we push at dawn, we can flank before they fortify. You nod, though tunnels of black dance at edge of vision. Publius notices, lowers his voice. You lead the charge, they'll follow even to Tartarus. But if you fall in the first volley, the unfinished sentence hangs heavier than thunder. You study the men huddled around, guttering fires their faith, a fragile clay cup balanced in your shaking hands. At dawn, you say, I'll be there. Publius bows and slips back into rain. Alone, you let eyelids sag. Poison, fever, blood lost 3 sisters plucking your life strings thinner each hour. Yet beneath their discord hums a fiercer note, the legion's heartbeat, pulsing through mud and steel straight into your marrow. You cling to it the way a drowning sailor clings to driftwood. Outside, lightning forks the clouds, revealing for an instant the road curling south toward Romslick. Black, endless. You whisper into the thunder, partly prayer, partly command. Hold heart. One more day. Dawn crawls in, gray and raw, dragging a fog that clings to the ridge like funeral gauze. Rain has stopped, but everything drip swords, saddles, the damaged flesh beneath your linen. You taste copper the moment you swing into the saddle. The wound weeps with each breath, warm and slick. To your right, Publius checks the straps on the eagle standard. Lightning still flickers far off, low thunder growling like a caged lion in omen or a warning, you can't tell. Ahead, the ridge rises like a dark spine above the causeway. Household cavalry banners black stallions on gold snap against the wind. You count 2 cohorts, perhaps 600 riders, helmets catching first light like serpent scales. They own the high ground. If they charge downhill, your men will shatter. But between you and them juts a narrow goat track hugging the cliff steep, slick, just wide enough for single file. A gamble. A curiosity gap yawns in your brain. Will the cavalry expect mountain goat soar, avenging ghosts? You raise a clenched fist. Half cohort with me, you hiss, voice just loud enough for Publius, Pharaoh, and 20 veterans. Scale the track, hit their flank. Main force holds the road and makes noise make them look down, not up. Varro grins, rainwater beating on scarred scalp. Publius just mutters, "Mad? Magnificent." Livius grabs your rein, pupils pinprick with fear. Bleeding worsens. One stumble, you bleed out on that cliff. You lean close so only he hears. Better cliffstone than Nero stage. The ascent is a knife fight with gravity. Hooves slip, jagged shale slices, fetlocks, wet leather reins squeal. Each jolt jerks agony along your rib cage. You bite it down, copper-filling mouth. Fog cloaks you 30 paces up, swallowing labored breaths. Wind shifts sudden whiff of horse manure, lamp oil, sweat from the cavalry line above. Close, too close to quit. A final scramble and the ridge flattens beneath Yuan-sculpted heather beneath hooves. Enemy rearguard 15 paces away, facing downhill oblivious. You raise your gladius. The blade trembles poison or anticipation? No time to doubt. You drop it in a chopping arc across the nearest rider's neck. Arterial spray steams in cold dawn air. His scream cracks the hush. Instantly your men burst from the fog like thunderclap steel shrieking, hooves thundering. Cavalry whirl, shocked eyes wide in bronze visors, formation unraveling like wet rope. Below, the main legion drums shields, horns balling false advance. Household riders pivot downhill, find themselves sandwiched. Chaos ignites. Horses rear, men curse, lightning forks against daylight strobe, freezing red splatters in midair. You carve a path toward their standard, your gladius elbow deep in enemy mail. Every heartbeat punches pain across your rib, but the fever turns into molten clarity. You feel each droplet of rain still clinging to eyelashes, each grit under boot. Their commander, Praetorian prefect Lucanus, spots you. Charges lance first. The point glitters, aimed at your ruptured side. Reflex overrides agony. You jerk left, grab the shaft, let momentum yank him from the saddle. He lands hard, your boot pins his chest. For Marcus, you snarl, plunging steel through visor slit. The lance tip scrapes stone, his body spasms once, stills. A twist inside your gut snaps hodern stitch, maybe artery. Warmth floods trousers. You stagger, vision snowing black flecks. Publius screams your name, but new horns cut through Imperial retreat signal. Cavalry scatter downslope, fleeing the ridge. Victory should taste like wine. Instead, your mouth fills with copper and bile. You sway in the saddle, eagle shadow wavering over fallen men. Varro gallops up, eyes wide. "They run, General! Road is ours!" Cheers echo, but grow distant, muffled, as if underwater. Livius appears, face gray. He probes the bandage-high's fingers sink into hot slickness. "Arterial," he whispers, horror-strangling voice. You smile, teeth crimson. "I missed again." You cough. But death's aim never does. Livius rips fabric, presses hard. Blood seeps between his knuckles, unstoppable. Publius dismounts, grabs your forearm. "Hold on." Rome awaits. You shake your head. Even that motion razors pain. Rome rides with you now, you rasp. Wind steals warmth from skin. Thunder rolls closer, applauding. The men gather, faces streaked with mud, blood, rain awaiting orders that won't come. You lift trembling hand, point south. "Take the eagle to the Milvian bridge." Publius's eyes glass, but he nods, closes your fingers around the standard pole one last time, then pries them free. The bronze wings catch dawn, drip rain that looks like tears. Legionaries kneel, murmur the oath over your uneven breaths. Cold seeps, a tide rising in limbs. Livius's voice fades, replaced by the distant roar of Rome's crowd. You imagine them not jeering at your execution, but cheering the eagle-cresting Capitoline hill. A curiosity gap closes. What waits beyond failed poison, failed flesh? Maybe only silence. Maybe the hush before a new republic's first shout. You exhale, copper tang receding, replaced by pine resin, damp heather, and the faint sweetness of freedom just out of reach. The sky cracks open full sunrise at last bathing ridge and corpses in gold. You watch a single shaft spear the eagle, flaring so bright it blinds. In that brightness, your heartbeat slips its cadence, falters, stops. Your chin drops to breastplate. Breath escapes in a soft sigh carried away on storm wind. Somewhere, horns rally, hooves pound south. The Legion races onward while you remain. One more soldier claimed by the war he started in his own veins.